All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll start with the salute to the flag. See if we can do it a little better. I pledge allegiance
To the flag,
flag,
the United States
of America,
and to the
republic
republic
for
which
which
is
it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
Liberty and
liberty and
justice.
justice for all.
justice for all.
Yeah, that
I think
wasn't.
it's yeah, but it's the time delay between everybody.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
it.
Yeah.
Eileen, would you like to do a roll call?
Yes, I would. Mr. Cook,
Here.
Mr. D'Andriano,
Here,
Mr. Rogan,
Here.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here. So I'd like to note at the beginning of this meeting that we had planned on attempting to live stream the meeting. We've had some technical difficulties. We are recording the meeting and we'll post it at a later date, I hope. But we are not going to be able to live stream this meeting. So with that, I will take a motion on the audit of the bills.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve abstract number 7 dated April 10th, 2020 in the amount of $306,000, $306,859.94. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
We have no budget transfers, so Sean, if you would.
Okay, first item we have is actually some work to do with the senior trips. We had previously approved a trip for the seniors back in February 12th of 2020. That trip was supposed to be in March, actually March 24th. Obviously, that trip did not happen. So first we need to formally reschedule, but I'm looking, do we have to rescind the original approval? Let's see. I missed it. Anyway, what we're doing essentially is approving the rescheduling of this trip that was prior approved, and it will be for, hopefully, for August 6th, 2020. And this is a trip to Mohegan Sun Casino. The total expenses to the budget are $358.90. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Don, to answer your original question, I think it might be a good idea, Donna, you want to weigh in on this, that we rescind the original approvals?
That was what I was looking for the words, and I was remiss.
Yeah,
So
probably right for the budgetary.
All right, so let me take a crack at it. I'd like to
Got
rescind the motion made by the town board approving the Mohegan Sun trip originally approved for February 12th, and the Aqua trip, Aqua Turf trip originally scheduled for, well, no, we're not doing that.
no,
No, sorry, just the Mohegan Sun trip that was originally scheduled for February 12th.
it was actually just in a revision, Rich, and thank you for helping me out. It was approved February 12th, but the trip was scheduled for March 24th. So with that modification. No, you're helping me. There's no reason to be sorry. So I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. And so the next trip is an Aqua Turf trip for July 14th, 2020 for the seniors. Net cost to the budget, $1,412. I'll make that motion to approve that trip. So moved.
second,
All in favor?
Aye. Next item, the town had received a letter to the town board requesting the extension of a paper road in Putnam Lake on Newton Road. The owner has a house there currently and is looking at the potential of trying to develop 2 vacant parcels that they own. These paper roads exist all over Putnam Lake. They were originally sketched out on the subdivision map that goes back, what, Rich, to the 1930s or 40s?
Early 30s.
Early 30s. And so essentially on a piece of paper, the original sketch was for some of these roads to be built out. However, they never were. So procedurally, obviously, if anybody wants to open up one of these road beds, they have to go to the town board and go through a a couple of processes to be able to gain access, because as you probably all know, in order to prove out an individual building parcel, you have to have frontage on an improved road, and they currently don't have that. Rich was kind enough to send a letter to Russ to inquire about certain parameters, such as what would be the potential build out of that road, because as you all know, the build out of a town road is much greater than some of the existing roads in Putt Lake as they exist today. And so we have a memo from Rich, which was to Russ. Rich, we haven't heard back from Russ yet, correct?
No, but to clarify, it was also to the Director of Codes Enforcement and the town engineer.
I see that now, you're correct.
Yeah, no, I just got this out this week.
Okay. And so that memo, asks for input on a variety of issues. One of which is, do we want to do an evaluation of the vacant parcels that are on Newton Road? Because there's 5 or 6 vacant parcels at this time. None of them meet current zoning for an individual lot, but they all have vested rights to pursue that interest because they're all individual parcels from that subdivision. So the reality is, regardless of what we do, there are no guarantees as to the buildability of those lots. They still have to meet setbacks and prove out septic system and well locations, but they do have a vested interest in pursuing those approvals. The first step would be whether or not we grant access for the paper road to be expanded or improved so that they meet that one requirement.
And I just want to add one more thing. It does not have to be a road that is ultimately accepted for dedication by the town. It could be
Correct.
a road as long as it's suitably improved.
Well, Don, just so you know, we've already accepted Newton Road, that small segment that's in existence now. It's a town road. We're maintaining it.
I see. Okay.
So we would be looking at extending that road. The current proposal is to extend the existing portion of another 150 to 200 feet. Obviously, there's a number of issues with turnaround capacity, where they push snow. Right now the town probably plows into that area and then backs back out because I don't think there's existing turnaround space. That's one thing for a 150-foot road, but then it's yet another at 400 feet. So all ideas that I think need to be taken into consideration before we make a decision.
Right. So it will be built out by the developer.
Correct.
And then taken. So
yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I think Rich had thrown out the idea of, the normal 24-foot wide build out, would something less than that be suitable given the potential impact? Right now it serves one house. The potential would be for a second house. But I think it's also important to look at it, the additional lots that could come in the future on this. And just, I know in the past through the planning board, sometimes we've done a build up where each additional impact creates greater burden for building the road towards town road specs, whether it's drainage or, road dimensions, et cetera.
Okay.
So at this point, Rich, I guess we're waiting for feedback from the 3 parties that you mentioned: superintendent, town engineer, and director of code enforcement.
Correct. Does any board member have any question about the process laid out here
No, I don't.
or what we're doing?
Nope, I'm very aware of it even from a personal standpoint, of course.
Oh, yes, you are.
Yes, and upkeep of a road never seems like a big deal when you're in the midst of building, but 20 years later, you certainly want to make sure you're in the best interest to succeed for the future. I guess that's really the point,
Yes.
that it's always a hardship up front, but in the long run, putting some common sense improvements into place certainly pays for the future.
Yeah.
But you don't want to make something so cost prohibitive that you're unable to build a single family home because it's going to cost $1 million to build a road. Obviously, that's not what we're looking to do.
And Rich, is it correct that it would be the planning board would have to pass on it also?
I don't believe they would.
No, it's town board, right?
Well, the way it's laid out in 280A, it says town board and/or planning board. The town board actually establishes the road design standards for the town.
Got it. Okay. I didn't know if it was,
We certainly may consider, sending it over to the planning board for a recommendation, but we're gonna have a recommendation from our highway superintendent, who ultimately is
Yeah.
responsible.
I understood. I didn't know if the authority had been delegated in the past to the planning board. So,
It has not.
Okay,
Uh,
all right,
And
that's,
this is not a subdivision plat that actually was approved by the planning board. Had it been approved by the planning board, we might be having a different conversation.
got it. Okay,
Yeah. Great.
sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
First on my agenda is COVID-19. I'd just like to update the board. We are continuing to keep town hall open, but with a reduced staff. All offices are open. All departments, look at that. All departments except accounting are on alternating days of operation. All town hall employees are healthy and available for work, which is the good news. But within the departments, where possible, we are alternating hours of work for staff, so contact between individuals remains minimized. Of course, everybody knows the public is still not allowed to come within the building. We do have drop-offs in the lobby for any records, and actually they are being used with some frequency. We are still issuing permits and assisting our residents through email and phone as best we can. As you all know, Governor Cuomo has extended New York pause until May 15th by Executive Order 202.18. This is placing additional burden on all of us, but I believe he is doing it for everybody's best interest. This also means that the Recreation Center will not be opening until May 15th at the earliest, and I do expect it to be extended probably till the beginning of June. Also, as per the governor's executive order, the basketball courts at Memorial Field and Putnam Lake have now been closed. I closed them by covering up the basketball nets. I took a look at trying to pull the hoops off. It would have been a challenge, to say the least, to do it by myself, and I didn't want to I did bring Dennis out, but Dennis stayed on one side of the court and I stayed on the other side of the court. We are working towards opening the beaches this summer, although I anticipate they will probably not be open till well after Memorial Day and possibly not till July 4th. I did get some correspondence today from the health department to say that they are waiting on the state health department, and they had not heard anything, so they have not issued the draft beach permits, or the forms that we need to start filling out. Both highway and sanitation are operating without incident. The highway department is currently prepping for paving a number of roads. They anticipate that they're going to be doing some paving this year earlier than expected, because that's where they're falling within the queue of the pavers that are going to assist them. We continue to sanitize town hall as best we can. We still have plenty of wipes, and we're doing fine. And daily we're washing, wiping down the doorknobs. And last weekend, Jimmy came in here, Jimmy Engineering, our cleaner, and fogged building department, and he fogged all the common areas with a special sanitizer. So that was all done last weekend. I've talked to a number of business owners within the community. I could tell you that as this goes on, they are hurting more and more. There are 2 or 3 I've talked to who are afraid that, they close their doors and it's becoming more difficult to stay open. But if they do close, they do not anticipate reopening. So we're going to be losing some business, certainly. And I noticed there were a few businesses that I was surprised could have been open doing something, but they are closed up, and I don't know whether they're going to reopen as well, because I know some of those businesses, especially a restaurant on 22, is borderline. Any questions on where we are with COVID?
I have one quick one there, Rich. Is court open at all or not?
Court is not open at all.
Okay.
I have not heard anything about when they do intend to open. That's all driven by court administration, and I have not been kept in the loop on any of that.
Okay, thank you.
Charlie, I think there are some, like, for want of a better word, essential court proceedings are still going on remotely, I believe. Things like arraignments and the like are still being processed, but actual court appearances are not.
All right. So that leads me into the next issue, Charlie, that, one of the things that we did at the last meeting was we did agree to pay the recreation part-time staffers. Unfortunately, we did leave the court officers out of that. And I would like to make a motion to, again, pay the court officers as per the memo from our town controller for the 3 court officers for the month of April. Everybody seen that memo?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions on that?
Rich, I think you did a great job of giving a synopsis of everything going on. Clearly, you and I have been in conversations on an almost daily basis about what's going on. And I think your assessment about them pushing the May 15th date is a very good guess. I think that right now we're all gearing towards right now, hopefully after May 15th, starting a soft opening. But I think it makes sense to talk about how we're going to protect our workers when they go back. So in certain instances, even when this does open up, we may want to make sure that our front desk folks have been considered with either protective gear or social distancing. In the county, they are rapidly trying to retrofit a lot of our offices that directly serve the public with some type of temporary plexiglass divider. It's not the be all end all, but it's something to consider in certain offices where that direct contact can't be avoided. And I think we should at least consider what options we have. The good news is, since the public hasn't been in the office, it's not as likely to be contaminated. We just have our own staff coming and going. The rec center has been closed down long enough that shouldn't be a concern either. Not that it doesn't need a good cleaning, but probably for other reasons. So I think you're right on point with your comments, and I thank you for that.
There is one more thing. Of course, I'm watching the numbers daily, both in the town of Patterson and Putnam County. And just before this meeting, we got the latest update from the county on the numbers. And for the town of Patterson, we had no new cases in the town of Patterson today reported.
Good.
So that may be a function of the fact that we're not seeing extensive testing, or it may be a function of, people, if they are getting sick, they are not rushing to the hospital, and they are just toughing it out at home. So the hospital's not doing the testing, or the doctor's offices are not doing the testing. I'm not sure which it is, but I have noted that, over time, the overall numbers for Putnam County are starting to slow down. At this point, for the past few days, the number of increases has only been about 2% total for the whole county. So it does seem to be slowing down in Putnam County as well. All good news.
Good.
I'm just hoping that everybody will recognize that going forward, that, Putnam County and some of the upstate counties are going to be a little bit different than New York, and perhaps allow us to a little bit more flexibility in when we can open some of the functions. I don't expect that, we're all going to be rushing out to an outdoor concert, standing shoulder to shoulder anytime in the near future. But, if we could at least get a barber shop open, because I really need it.
Charlie's looks
say
good though.
anything, but
I did my own. I don't want to show you the back. I butchered it, but
In my own.
So,
I have spray.
fine, you're good.
I wish I needed a barber.
All right, moving on. So the next item on my agenda has to do with the mobile station out at the intersection of Route 22 and 311. They've sent a letter in. Their septic apparently is in failure. They're under notice of violation, I believe, from the health department, and are looking for options to make the repair or find an alternate way to provide sewage disposal. I did provide the board with a memo which, outlines a lot of the issues. Foremost in my mind is we are seeing more and more of these failures that are looking to tie in, and we are starting to run short on capacity, especially if we, want to include some of the areas like we have discussed in the past down on 311. So I think we need to be a little bit careful in moving forward. I don't know they're going to have any other option, because I can tell you their whole site is paved over, and they really have no other option at this point other than to do this. They have not provided their design flows to us yet. I did request those. Late today, about 5 o'clock, I got an email back. The permit that I have from the health department for that septic system is showing that they've got a design flow of 400 gallons. And for whatever reason, they haven't responded yet. They are telling me that they're looking more along the lines of 1,400 gallons per day, which is a significant increase.
It could be why it's been failing. Maybe if they were only using 400 gallons, it wouldn't be leaking.
Yes. I absolutely concur with that. That could be the cause of the problem. I do know that there are some people out there that are using the bathrooms for more as their own personal bathrooms, not just, a stop on the way to someplace else. So I'm sure that's driving up the water usage out there as well.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions on this?
I do. I went through, some of the bullets that you had there. I was wondering, would we be able to have them put a considerable amount of money in an escrow account, so that if we did they need to pay for any type of repairs or additions or service, that the money would be there and we wouldn't be in a position where we're struggling to get it from them?
Well, so the Thunder Ridge Force Main runs right past their facility. And I haven't had the conversation with them yet about what they are looking to exactly do other than tie in. It could be that we're not going to take any of it. They're going to tie in, and they're going to be responsible for their own pump station if they need one, or force main, and they're going to be responsible for all of that. So then the only other issue that we might have is if they put something in the line which plugs the line and we have to go in and maintain it.
Yeah.
We could have that conversation as well, but I don't know how we would come up with a budget for building an escrow account they would be responsible for.
Rich, one thing we could do, even though they're not a traditional food service establishment, they do have some food production there. If we're ever concerned about any grease being dumped down the lines, traditionally, I know the town of Carmel and many other towns, whenever any kind of a food service connects to the sewer system, they require a considerably large external grease trap, 1,000 to 2,000 gallons, which for a facility like this may be a little overzealous, but it doesn't mean it's not the right thing for the future to protect the town, to say, hey, have a grease trap, even if it's 1,000 gallon, and then have it pumped out routinely, and that kind of protects that they're not going to clog it. It's probably more likely at a business like Thunder Ridge because they would be cooking more, but still, it's not a bad idea to at least consider.
Good point. Good point.
And Rich, they're not in the district currently, right?
They are not in the district.
Okay.
So it needs to be approved by the DEP and the town.
Just for everyone, which gives the town a little bit more flexibility as to whether it's going to permit it, as opposed to a property that was already in the district. Not
Right.
that I'm saying we should be looking to, be restrictive towards them, but the concerns Rich raised in his letter are certainly significant ones. Because kind of like it's nice to get additional users to contribute, but it's you don't want to cut your nose off to spite your face. If there are other projects that come online that would be significant, and then you don't have capacity for them, that's a potential issue. So I think it's laid out well as far as the various considerations are concerned in the letter.
With the, Rich, going back to the usage, the 400 gallons versus 1,400, I would want to make sure that anything that we approved would not be, in other words, I'd want to approve the flows based on what the business currently is and what the business currently requires, and wouldn't want them to then automatically be able to increase the use of the site to change it to something that's more consumptive of water, or, something that gives us the leverage to be able to control that use. Because, you wouldn't want them to apply for 1,400 gallons with the idea, hey, let's get what we can get, and then a year from now we'll demolish the building and build something up there that, is maybe a different kind of business. Not that it wouldn't be a service station, but something,
Car
we'd
wash.
want to at least
Car
make
wash.
sure.
Car wash.
Car wash. Yeah, right. But
That would be recycled probably, but
yeah,
that's a big consideration.
Sure. All right, so everybody is okay with continuing moving this forward?
Yeah,
Yes.
the only issue I had was that we just make sure we protect ourselves from any future costs that we would have to, would be a burden to us. So I think you guys got it covered, so.
Okay.
Rich, I just have a quick question. With these add-ons, and say we took on mobile and a couple of other ones, and we start getting closer to capacity, okay? Is there a way to expand the capacity at the current plant?
There's nothing you can't do without throwing a sufficient amount of money at it, Charlie. So yes, we can expand the capacity at the plant, assuming that New York State DEC and New York City DEP would approve the expansion.
Okay.
But, it would probably take a considerable amount of money to, expand the capacity. I don't know that we could simply, up it by 20,000 gallons by altering some of the technology.
All right.
What percentage of the capacity are we at now?
I gave you the numbers. We're probably percent, God,
well, you're
60%, 70%.
65, yeah, 60 to 70%. Because you're at 80,000 gallons and you're running somewhere around 50,000. So,
And,
yeah.
And the issue is we have a couple of users like Thunder Ridge and Patterson Commons who are not at, discharging their full capacity. Patterson Commons is looking to build a couple of more buildings out there because they do have and have been paying for the additional flows, even though they're not using them.
Mm-hmm.
But the really scary one for me is Thunder Ridge because, they have a design of 3,000 gallons per day, but that's averaged out over a year's time.
Yeah.
And when that ski operation is going full force, they are using considerable higher, they are generating considerable amount of flows off of that site. And I'm a little bit nervous about, can we actually handle the peak flows from Thunder Ridge when it's really going?
No, that's a great point, Rich. I bet their peak flows are probably 5 times that amount.
Oh, easily.
You get all easily, Yep.
Yeah. There's a lot to be considered on it. The future developability of the Thunder Ridge property.
Right.
Kind of the opposite of what you were saying, Sean. the existing users that are in the district,
Mhm.
but they're being the most, I guess, prominent one as far as area, they would be greatly restricted in any change of use that they could put onto that site, which is a prime site down the line for all types of development that would be very desirable, I would think, from the town's point of view. So that's
Well,
another.
Don, the reality on Thunder Ridge is that only the lodge is tied in. So we have a modicum of control,
Right.
but the lodge is now only used seasonally. If they decided to go to full year use,
Sure. Yep.
you know, we're going to be trying to play catch up on that.
Sure.
You know, I understand.
Yep.
For sure.
Okay, last on my agenda is executive session litigation, which I will save till a later time. Mary?
Okay. The first item on my agenda is the Recreation Center deep cleaning. I see we have a price quote here from, what is the name of this company? ANC Facility Management Corporation. Looks like they have a huge list of things that they'll be cleaning for the rec center. I did have a few questions, and so also in relation to your update, Sean, sorry, Rich, that you were giving me before. The rec center, we had some email correspondence with us and Matt, and I know Matt's not available to us to speak with us. I asked if the contract that we had with the current cleaning company, I think that there was weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly cleanings that he was contracted to do. Have those cleanings been being done even though the rec center is not open?
Yes, they're still in there.
Oh, so they're still going in and doing what they need to do?
Yes.
All right. So this is not the company that we have contracted. This
This is our current cleaner.
Oh, this is the current cleaner, the ANC that's
Yes.
doing it? So this is what so, I know I'm pushing hard for the rec center to get clean, but I see the bill is pretty hefty. And if no one's in there using it and they're still going in and doing those cleanings, I think that they would still have opportunity to probably do some of this work and utilize the time that they're in there, because it's not, if they've cleaned it, doing their traditional weekly, bi-monthly, and monthly cleanings, I think that they would probably have time to do this cleaning and not be at such a huge cost. Am I making sense?
Yes, no, listen,
Because it's not being used. They're going in and they're re-cleaning, according to their contract. It just doesn't make sense to pay them an additional $3,000 when they're in there anyway and they're cleaning stuff that hasn't been dirty.
Sure. The issue is they have a contract to clean in a specific way. They've been doing it. This is over and above what they are currently contracted.
Mm-hmm. Did we ask Jimmy what he would charge, Mr. Engineering, for what he did with the town hall to do with the rec center?
I did not. That might, well, I certainly could. But I believe my direction was to go see what the current cleaner would charge
Yeah.
for the cleaning.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize it was the same company. I mean, it's a very thorough cleaning. It looks good. I think that I was also wondering if they quoted you how long that it would take them to do this work. I mean, it's a lot of work. And they, if they're in and out in one day, I would say they probably aren't doing everything that they have listed out here.
Well, yeah, but if they're going to go in and do this, we're going to be down there observing.
Right.
I mean, when
Yeah.
they're coming in now, Dennis is down there, overseeing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we would be overseeing this as well.
Yeah.
Certainly I could go back with them and try to negotiate this. I'm of the opinion, as Sean said, the recommendations are that this virus doesn't live long on certain surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is down there. Nobody's going in there.
Right.
I can't imagine that, we have an issue down there right now with COVID with nobody really going in there.
Yeah, and I think that also that we need to rethink that when we bid out the work, you know, for cleaning, that we make sure we include, you know, everything that is bulleted out here. Just, you know, using the word disinfect. You know, I didn't go through the current contract as much as I wanted to, but I think that we make sure that we're very particular on how we word it out, you know,
Okay.
for the next bid process.
Well, we can, you know, when that comes up, we can take another look at it and read
Yeah.
specs like we
Yeah,
did.
I mean, I think in the position that we're in right now, and like I said, I know I pushed really hard to have it cleaned. I think I pushed harder to have a maintenance, you know, program in place for when we do open. And yes, I agree with Sean and everyone else that it's been sitting there, so there couldn't possibly be anything living there. And they're in there cleaning, doing the contractual cleaning. And this is a big hit for us, especially since we're not operating. So maybe you could find out from Jimmy,
I can talk to Jimmy.
yeah, and see if he can offer us. And then, and maybe even this company can give us a maintenance program for opening on, you know, if they have anything in place.
I'm sorry. what?
When we reopen, maybe they have a maintenance program in place, like they'll come in, you know, more than what they're doing now at an additional cost and just wipe things down and, you know.
And
I think
see,
that's what we should probably be looking at more than like a one big deep clean now, maybe.
Right, for a reopen.
Yeah, more frequent cleaning,
disinfection.
A program,
disinfecting.
yeah, a disinfecting program.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah, and the machine that Jimmy brought in, was that costly to do? Did it take one day or?
No, it took a very short period of time. So no, it wasn't costly at all.
Yeah.
Was that the fogging that you were talking about?
Well, so there's a couple of different foggers that you can use. The fogger that Jimmy uses produces a much larger droplet size.
Okay.
The one that I've ordered for the town, the electrostatic, does a very, very fine droplet. So you get a more even coating all over everything,
Yeah.
according to the literature.
Mm-hmm.
We're still waiting on that.
Yeah, I don't expect to see that till June 15th at the earliest.
Could we use that at the rec center?
Excuse me?
Could we use that at the rec center?
Oh, we absolutely could.
Oh,
use
yeah.
the rec center, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rich, I think going back to the one product we had previously talked, I think all the county ever got in their shipment was like 5 gallons of it. So they're really working off a small batch and they're waiting for larger orders, just like we are.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the next item on my agenda is grievance day. Okay. Okay. So it looks like the Governor Cuomo's executive order number 202.15 postponed all public hearings until after June 1. So unless convening public body or officials is able to hold the public hearing remotely through the use of telephone conference. So Donna has, you had a conversation with the assessor concerning procedures for holding property tax grievance day on May 26th using Zoom video conferencing. It appears she has advised us that she can hold a property tax grievance day by video conference. So this would entail the board meeting on Zoom, video conferencing, and inviting one at a time individuals to join the meeting and present their information to the board. So we're going to make a motion to approve Euro Video to run the video for this meeting, and the cost for running the meeting would be $475. So I'll make a motion to approve the $500 or an amount not to exceed more than $500 to Euro Video to record our grievance day meetings. So moved. Is that,
Comment.
did you want me to approve that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Is it
But I want
live?
to discuss it also.
I'm sorry?
I want to discuss it also. So you made the motion?
Yeah, to approve for May, it's on May 26th, correct?
Correct. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we've been working through, so you all are aware, we've been working through a lot of the details because the governor, when he issued the initial order, postponing all public hearings till after June 1st, really didn't take into consideration, you know, some of the local processes that the town have to go through, like grievance day, which is, it's, you know, kind of, it's intricate that it's kind of linked with the other towns doing it at the same time in the county and some of the deadline dates for real property. And so everybody's been scrambling, trying to figure out how to do it. And this is the process that we put in place as well as a lot of the other towns. Now, just so full disclosure here, yesterday, the assessors were sent a new executive order, wasn't posted up on the governor's website, which basically extended the real property deadlines to whatever time we saw fit after June 1st, but we would have to do something. Problem with that is that what we do is linked with what the other towns do and what the county real property does and the deadlines they have to meet. So the assessors throughout the county at this point have generally agreed that they are not changing the date. They don't want to change the date. And I'm fine with that. But I expect we may get a little bit of blowback from people who are saying, hey, geez, we're not being, you know, as accommodating to the public in this time with COVID. And I apologize for that right up front, but, you know, there are much more intricate issues involved in us being able to change the date to put it, say, June 15th or June 26th.
What is the average that we get a year? Do you,
It varies year to year, but, you know, as of late for this grievance day, 5 or 6 people.
mhm.
Oh, I'm just going to chime in. Is it also going to be live streamed?
It's going to be live streamed.
Right. Okay. Which it should be.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
Okay.
Which is why we need to have Paul involved in this, you know, and tonight was supposed to be the test night.
He'll probably chime in at 7 p.m.
Yeah, probably. All right, there's a motion with a second. Can I, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all. Where are we? Peter?
All right, my first item is the lift gate for the Packard, so on the Sanitation Department. So we got a memo from Russ Goff, our highway/sanitation superintendent, that they were finding that since the residents have been home more from this pandemic, that there was a significant increase in the trash. So the trash cans were getting heavier. So they were requesting, so Russ is requesting to retrofit truck number 112 with tipper. So it's a machine that helps you just have to slide or roll the can onto it, and it lifts the can into the back of the truck. So this also, it helps in 2 ways. It helps them protect their back and knees and from injury. Also, too, we don't really want them getting into these garbage pails and dealing with garbage that might be infected with if a family has the virus. So I think it's something also too. I think we've talked about for a long time. I think it's a great idea. So the cost is $7,815. It hasn't been done already. Did they do it, Rich? Did they?
Okay, so where we are with this is I authorized the first one as an emergency repair because, you know, as Pete pointed out, I mean, there are some health concerns in all this, but we've got 2 trucks and I was not comfortable going so far as to authorize both trucks. So we're looking to authorize the same amount of money for the second truck.
So we're just approving one or two, both?
Well, it would be good to approve both trucks,
Yeah, I think it's good.
but again, full disclosure, there was a timeliness in this. We needed to get
Sure.
one truck because this is being done not here. We had to send the truck out. So,
Way to do it would be perhaps to ratify the decision that, any steps that have been taken already to address it.
and then approve the second one.
Yeah.
So,
Will we get a better price if we ordered two of them?
No,
okay, so do I need to make a motion to, so this would be for Long Island Sanitation Equipment Company in Farmingdale, New York. That's where we purchased truck 112. So do I need to make a motion to approve $715 or times two?
times two.
Times
Yeah.
two.
My calculator in front of me, but I'd like to approve two tippers at each for $7,815. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
15,630, I think, Pete.
Okay, sounds good. All right, my next item anybody have anything on that? I think
Just-
that's just
just
great.
the-
idea.
Just simply to reiterate, I think what you said recently was that this was something that was also recommended back when we had done the audit and the work on the garbage district. So I think it's great because, boy, what a tough job they have. They're so prone to back injuries, and right now they are doing more with less. So I think this will go a long way to helping to protect our guys.
Yeah. Rich, did you say one of them's already in operation?
No, we're currently working on one right now. It's at Long Island Sanitation being installed.
Yeah. Let me know. I can't wait I'm going to run out to see my garbage get picked up.
You're going to be
Looking out the
getting rid
window
of
this
all that.
morning.
You're going to be getting rid of all that heavy garbage you've been hanging on to, aren't you, Mary?
I'm going to have to reduce my Christmas tip.
That's good.
Yeah, while we're on sanitation also too, just for the people that are watching this eventually, that the sanitation department had to suspend the recycling program at this time, just because of the fact that the increased amount of trash that they just can't do both. They can't do the recycling and the trash. So just a reminder, you could either put it out with your trash and it'd be thrown in the trash, or you can hold on to your recyclables and until the program starts up again.
Mm-hmm.
So just a reminder.
Yep. Thank you, Pete, for doing that.
Thanks. A lot of people are getting deliveries at home. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of cardboard.
Yep. Okay, next I have is a letter from the New York State Department of Transportation regarding Route 22. So this is a project that's actually we've been kind of working on for a couple of years now. And it's in, just for reference, it's the Route 22 corridor in front of Thunder Ridge, from kind of like before Rocco's down to the Putnam County National Bank area, or even to 311. So this a little background. A few years ago, there was a fatality, and after that fatality, I had brought this up to the Putnam County Traffic Safety Board as a concern, because I know in the past, since I've lived up here, there's been several fatalities and bad crashes in that area over the long period of time. So we did discuss it amongst the Traffic Safety Board, and a lot of the members felt it was a concern of the area. So there's a couple concerns. One is the intersection of Birch Hill Road, which is the north end. Each intersection is probably like a 45-degree angle, maybe even less. And then the other one, the other side, which is the Thunder Ridge Road intersection. So originally, for a long time, it was very difficult to make a right turn or a left turn. Make a right turn off the south Thunder Ridge Road onto 22, and a left turn off of Birch Hill Road. It's hard enough to make a left onto 22 off Thunder Ridge, but they did put up. Over the years, a few years ago, put a no right turn and no left turn signs there. So they restricted that, which has has gotten a little bit better. So anyway, so the letter here is from a meeting that myself and Rich and the DOT, New York State DOT, they had actually 3 members of the DOT actually met with us, and we gave them our concerns. Oh, and then the other part of the concerns are the speed limit in front of Thunder Ridge and the passing lane. So as it is now, you can on one side, I think if you're going northbound, you can pass cars, and at one time, I think at one point there's both lanes, both sides you can pass, and then the speed limit. So the speed limit right now is 50 if you're going north. So if you're going from Rocco's north to 311, it's currently 55 miles per hour up until about 100 feet or so away from Birch Hill Road, and then it drops down to 45 going into the intersection of 311. So the letter here states that the DOT conducted a study. They looked at the whole intersection, and they completed the study. The study included an analysis of the most current available crash history. So their crash history, what they looked at was March 1st, 2015 to February 28th, 2018. So a lot of people might say, oh, there was a lot of crashes, but in that period of time, there really wasn't. There was one fatality, but there wasn't a lot of other crash data. And, the DOT pretty much drives on crash data, almost doesn't count when it comes to the DOT spending money. And if you look at it, they have a lot of projects they have to do. So, they're going to look at data and say, hey, should we spend the money in this area or not? So the crash history did not reveal a pattern of accidents during that time period, but there was that one fatality. But that fatality also, it did not have anything to do with the intersections with that bad angle. What it actually had to do, it was with the passing. The driver was doing an illegal passing in that zone and crashed, which actually also concerns me. That's why we brought up possibly closing the passing lanes there and reducing the speed limit. So what they did was they did have the right turn restrictions for Thunder Ridge Road, left turn restrictions for Birch Hill Road.
Sorry.
That's not me.
No, I was getting a FaceTime call from my grandson.
Oh, you should have
I
passed
thought
that
it
in.
was me because usually
I've already declined. There he is again.
not giving up.
Take no for an answer.
Ryan, I'm in the middle of a meeting. I can't take it now. I'll call you later.
So of the DOT going out there and looking, they did do some things already. They replaced all stop signs. I was out there today. There's all new stop signs. They did this back in March. The turn restriction signs, there's actually 2 going each way. There's 2 no turn restriction, no turn signs 2 on Birch Hill and 2 on Thunder Ridge Road. They installed southbound and northbound Route 22 intersection warning signs for the intersections and replace the missing southbound state speed limit 55 sign. So they completed that work back in March. So I do have, so the other part with the intersection. So one thing we talked about with the DOT was even with the restricted turning, no turning, at those intersections, it is still difficult if you're coming down Thunder Ridge Road and making a left going towards Rocco's. It still is kind of difficult to, you're looking at a weird angle to make sure the road is clear before you can pull out, and as well as the making a right off Birch Hill Road going towards 311 as well. So, talking with Rich and looking at the whole area, Rich had come up with an idea of redirecting Birch Hill Road. And Rich, if you want to jump in, redirecting Birch Hill Road instead of it bearing right north towards 311 and then coming out at that weird angle, just directing it straight down through the Thunder Ridge property and coming to a 90-degree angle on 22, and then close down the Birch Hill and the Thunder Ridge intersections. So this way, instead of having those weird angles at each intersection, you come down to one 90-degree intersection. Also, too, not right across from there. So, my concerns, and also closing having them close the passing lanes and then lowering the speed limit to 45 up a little bit by Rocco. So in order to do all that, the DOT is not going to pay for that reroute of Birch Hill Road. They looked at it. The data isn't there for them to spend all that money, but they said we could apply, do it ourselves and apply for some funding for it. So through the Metropolitan Planning Organization. So they said that in order to reduce the speed limit, close the passing lanes, and then even start applying for some stuff, for some money for possibly rerouting the road for the intersection, they would need a resolution from the town board to them. So I think, down the road, if we get some money for the new intersection, that'd be great, but it wouldn't really cost much to close off the passing lanes and reduce the speed limit. I think that's something they could probably do right away. So we do have a resolution here. The resolution authorizes the town supervisor to pursue on the town board's behalf the foregoing highway improvements. So the following improvements: request that New York State DOT reduce the speed limit and the closure of existing passing lanes between New York State Route 311 and mile marker. What mile marker? What was that, Rich? Is that down by the bank, or is that all the way down, or is that right up to where it changes speed limit?
So as you're heading south on 22, and you first get to the Watchtower Farm on the right-hand side of the road, and they have that white house right there just before the farm, the mile marker is right about there.
Okay.
Stand
Perfect.
there, you can actually see the Thunder Ridge Road entrance intersection with Route 22. So that's why I picked that mile marker.
Okay, great. And in the resolution, do we need to state that we want to reduce the speed limit to 45, or just reduce the speed limit? Because it's not specific in the resolution.
Typically what'll happen if you're going to reduce the speed limit is DOT is going to do the speed limit analysis, and they're going to pick the speed limit that they want. I mean, we can request, we can add in there if you feel it's appropriate, reduce it down to 45. We can.
Maybe we'll just leave it, because maybe they might even find it might be something else. Might be 40 or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
The resolution also requests the DOT to submit to the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council an application or aid and support application made to the for funding for the realignment of that intersection of Birch Hill Road to Route 22, and it also authorizes the town supervisors to proceed with and take all necessary appropriate actions he deems reasonable and advisable for the closing and replacement of the intersections by the town, including obtaining highway work permits, receipt of funding, and programming assistance from the NYMTC. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as read and enter it into the record as read. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I will get this out. I'm also going to send it over to Mary Ellen Odell. She's our representative on NIMTech, and I assume you'll pursue it, Pete, with the Traffic Safety Board. And Pete, I'd just like to thank you, for all the hard work you've done on this. on this issue. Those two intersections really are not safe, and I was very surprised when I got the letter back from DOT.
Thanks.
Thank you, Pete.
You're welcome. That's all I have.
Charles,
Good. The next on our agenda is a resolution to establish a performance bond and what do you call it? Inspection fees for 2160 Route 22, which site plan, which is for a self-storage outfit to come in into Patterson, which is cool. So I'll make a motion that the town board approve this resolution for the establishment of a performance bond in the amount of $79,024 and inspection fees of $56,320. And approve the, where is this here?
I think you had it.
I guess that's about it.
There you go.
And enter into the record as read. So moved.
Second?
all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Next is the recycling audit, and the town board approved a policy, the policy and procedures for cash receipts as related to this audit. And the supervisor provided us with a response back to the state controller based on that new policy. And I think you're looking for an approval, Rich, before sending this back,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So since it ties in with the new policy, I'll make a motion that the town board approve supervisor's letter to the state controller's office with regard to the recycling center's cash receipts audit. So moved.
Second?
Any questions on this?
Pretty straightforward.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay. What was that?
Well,
We are down to other business. Any board member have any other business at this time?
did you all see Paul?
I saw Paul.
Okay.
I don't know where Paul went.
Proceed. If I could be so bold, proceed.
Okay, hearing no other business, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, don't anybody go anywhere.